Good evening, everyone. Welcome to what's now become our annual Boston State College celebration and the presentation of our Education for Service Awards. It says here in my remarks, for those of you who don't know me, but you've just met me a few minutes ago, my name is Peter Safaris. I earned a master's degree in education at Boston State in 1973 and actually worked at Boston State during 1980 to 82 as assistant to the president for then Dr. Robert McCarthy, right before the merger. Today I have the pleasure, and have had for the last several years, of being the president of Quincy College. In 2011, thank you. Okay. In 2011, I was honored, truly honored, to receive the Education for Service Award here at this event. It was a special evening for me and for my family, and particularly for my colleagues from Quincy College. You know, I might just say parenthetically, Jerry Burke's in the audience here, and at this event 5 years ago, I was actually here having a glass of wine, and I received a text message saying, "Congratulations, Mr. President." It was that night 5 years ago that the board actually voted to appoint me as president. So I walked up to Jerry Burke and I said, "Can you read without your glasses?" He said, "Certainly I can." So I showed him my phone, and he was the first person who actually knew that I had been appointed president of Quincy College, which, by the way, we're doing really well. So we'd love you to come and visit us. Actually, we have about 15 people here from the college and probably another 15 or so who have name tags outside who couldn't make it, but it's become an annual event for our staff. Let me take a moment just to acknowledge the Boston State College Steering Committee, which organized this program this evening. And I'd also like to acknowledge previous Education for Service Award winners. I know Tom Feenan's here. Tom Feenan. Mary Grasso O'Neill's here. Mary Grasso O'Neill, she was right here a moment ago. Oh, okay. And former professor of history at Boston State and later at Fitchburg State, John Moon, is here as well. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't miss anybody. As you know, Chancellor Motley had another pre-existing engagement, but I think everybody enjoyed his remarks. It's really difficult to follow Keith Motley. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Chancellor Mortimer, Terry Mortimer, as we know her from her Boston State days. She began her career in public education at Boston State as a faculty member in the Department of Foreign Languages, not one of my skills, so I never had the opportunity to take her. Last month, she celebrated 50 years of service to the University of Massachusetts. In her role as Assistant Chancellor here, she is a member of the Chancellor's Cabinet and the Executive Leadership Team. Ladies and gentlemen, Chancellor Mortimer.
Thank you, Peter, very much. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's so nice to be here with you, and especially at this event. I was thrilled when Chancellor Motley asked me to co-host this event, and I was thrilled for 1 minute, especially after he told me that, you know, Terry, I cannot just not come to this event because I love this event. So if you don't mind, I'm going to come and just say a few words. Just a few words. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It'll only be a few words. I said, okay, Chancellor. But since I have been working with him since 2008, as many of my colleagues here in the room know, it's never just a few words. But that's okay. We love him in spite of that. Again, I want to join Peter in thanking the Boston State Steering Committee, because without the work of that committee, we just wouldn't have this event. And it's a really important event. For those of you who weren't here earlier, and I think everybody was, you knew that Chancellor Motley had to leave because, again, it's our 50th year. We have one of our newer colleges is Global Inclusion and Social Development. I have such a trouble remembering the names of our colleges because they keep getting longer and longer. It used to be liberal arts, used to be management. Now it's global, so we have to have it be bigger and longer. But it is a wonderful school. I think it's the first one in the nation that deals with the issues of inclusion. And here at UMass, it's one of our values. We want to include everyone, and there should be opportunities in the United States for everyone. So when he says he wouldn't leave you unless it was really critical, he really means that. He does have about 150 executives from all over the world here to meet with our faculty and to learn about some of the practices that we're doing for inclusion. He gave me a few remarks, which I'll get to in just a minute, and there'll be few. I just would like to tell you what a special honor it is for me just to be here in the same room with all of you tonight. I mean, there are faculty here, there are alumni here, there certainly are our awardees here, and staff. I got my start in public higher education and, as Peter said, in the Department of Foreign Languages, where I taught Spanish. Following the merger, I came to the university as an associate professor in the Department of Hispanic Studies. I want to say why it was such a privilege for me to be here with you this evening and to talk to you. I have always been inspired by the students who went to Boston State College. They are intelligent, they are resourceful, they're not afraid of challenges, and they don't shrink from nothing. No, I think they're challenge junkies, to tell the truth. You say something can't be done, give me a Boston State person, and we're out there and we can do it. In fact, they're the ones that inspired me to pursue my doctorate. After teaching there for a few years, I said, you know, really to teach in higher education, you really need a terminal degree. You can't be a lawyer without passing the bar exam. And I said, if I want to be in higher education, then the terminal degree is the doctorate. So I have you to thank for the next 10 years of working full-time and pursuing a doctorate degree. But I have to tell you, it was really important because I wouldn't have, again, the honor and privilege of being here to speak with you this evening. As a faculty member, I really got to see the tremendous potential and talent of the Boston State students, along with that exceptional commitment and the drive to make the most of their educational opportunity. And when I learn what Boston State graduates like tonight's honorees have achieved, I'm also inspired. And why we may have other alums here that are not the awardees this evening, if we learned of your stories also, they would be inspiring. The success is a wonderful byproduct of your public higher education, and it's especially rewarding for me and for all our faculty, staff, and administrators to know that our institution helped prepare you to lead and to serve others. I know that there are some former Boston State faculty here in the room. They contributed to that education to that preparation. I would like them to stand, please. Jerry, Henry Allen, me, Marty Quill. They always speak with the same awe and respect as I do of the students who went there. And now let me just share with you the Chancellor's formal greetings. Okay. He said, it was great to be here with you this evening to mark the 9th Annual Boston State College celebration and the 8th anniversary of the Education for Service Awards. I am especially grateful to the members of the Boston State Steering Committee for their voluntary leadership in their efforts in putting the event together. Thanks to them, we've established a really wonderful and meaningful tradition. I would like to begin by acknowledging the members of the University of Massachusetts Board of Visitors who are with us. I know he acknowledged them already, Jim Conway. And Mary had to leave, but it's because of the vision and help of the members of the Board of Visitors that the Chancellor is able to consult with them and to keep moving this institution forward. I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to the family and friends of our award recipients. Lorna Chambers Andrade, Paul Larino, Paul, as wife and guest. And we're also joined by Paul's wife, Edna, daughter Beth Underhill, and son Paul, and daughter-in-law Carol. And Catherine's brothers. Catherine, your brothers are here? Okay, Robert and Paul Steck. And cousin Christina and Tom Luzakakis are also here. Thank you to them and to all of you for coming out tonight. It's really important when you receive an award like this, not just to be among friends as you are, but to have family come and special. People are special in your life. It makes the event special. Every year when we gather, there is a tremendous feeling of warmth and pride among the Boston State alumni, faculty, and staff. Just as the college had a tremendous impact on your lives, its legacy also continues here at UMass Boston. While its history is formally recognized in our room next door, the Boston State College room, the college's influence can also be seen in our current College of Education and Human Development, as well as the College of Nursing and Health Sciences. Those had their origins on Huntington Avenue so many years ago. It also lives in the classrooms and offices on this campus, where former faculty and staff bring their commitment to public higher education to serve our students. On a daily basis, I am fortunate to have the wisdom and counsel of two former Boston State faculty who serve on my executive staff. They are Assistant Chancellor Terry Mortimer and Provost Winston Langley. This year, as the University of Massachusetts celebrated its 50th anniversary, we took stock of our history and the strengths of our major academic enterprise. This evening, I'm reminded of the important role that the Boston State and all its faculty, staff had in contributing to expanding our academic programming in the education, nursing, exercise science, continuing education. I'm reminded of the student-centered education that was the focus of its faculty and is the hallmark of our university today. And I'm also reminded of one of the single greatest aspects of the Boston State College legacy, its graduates. In your professional lives and in your community involvement, you bring the knowledge and skills that you learned on Huntington Avenue to so many fields of endeavors. For many, the call to service is one that you embraced in careers in which you have dedicated yourselves to improving the quality of life in so many cities and towns. the Commonwealth, and beyond. The Education for Service Award recognizes those who've made outstanding contributions in their fields. Recipients like the ones we honor this evening truly embody the college's education for service, its motto, and a vital part of college's tremendous legacy. I would like to congratulate tonight's award winners again, Lauren Chambers Andrade, Paul Areno, and Catherine Steck. Your accomplishments and your dedication to serve the community bring honor to your alma mater. Thank you. And finally, I would like to express my thanks to those who've contributed to the Boston State Scholarship Fund, which will support University of Massachusetts Boston students. Thanks to your generosity, this permanently endowed fund now has a market value of over $36,000. The first scholarship will be awarded this spring. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Through your gifts to this fund, you not only pay tribute to your alma mater, you help ensure that future generations of learners have access to the wonderful opportunity of higher education here at Boston's only public university. Thank you all for being here tonight and helping us honor Boston State. I encourage you to continue your involvement with the University of Massachusetts Boston as we further the college's proud legacy that started at 625 Huntington Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. You know, I think one of the things that made people from Boston State so tough was waiting for the subway at Huntington and Longwood Avenue in the middle of the winter. I think that made anybody tough. That's an inside joke for those of you who weren't there. Boston State didn't have a parking problem because they didn't have any parking lots, so. And then just one other point. Before we begin tonight's more pleasant part of the program, I think it's important for us to take a moment. Some of you may have noticed in the Chiron this morning, or in the newspaper, that Jim Lesketoff, who was known as Jungle Jim Lesketoff to us, for the player for the Boston Celtics, was a longtime faculty member at Boston State, and he passed away at the age of 85. So the presentation of the Education for Service Awards. Lorna Chambers Andrade, class of 1978, a proud Boston State College alumna. As a childhood polio survivor, you have dedicated most of your distinguished career to serving the health needs of residents across the eastern part of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. From your early days as a staff nurse in Boston hospitals, to your later roles as a professor of nursing education and gerontology education, I could take some tips from you. You have made numerous contributions to the development of healthcare professionals. Bunker Hill Community College, the Mass Board of Nursing, the Brookline Visiting Nurses, and others are just a few of the many organizations that have benefited from your wisdom and your counsel as a board member. Even today, you continue to serve the field of nursing and health as a consultant for nursing and rehabilitation centers and educational facilities. A longtime civil rights advocate, you have applied your skills as an author and a speaker to the advancement of African Americans in higher education, and most particularly nursing, and the elimination of minority healthcare disparities. We should all know that most recently, the New England Area Conference of the NAACP, where you've served as a board member for many years, honored you with, as we do tonight, a Living Legend Award. With service to others as your primary mission, you have been and continue to be a leader in health and wellness of your fellow Martha's Vineyard residents. In areas such as public health, voter participation, and religious fellowship, you have devoted and been recognized as having devoted considerable time and talent to your community. A natural visionary, you formed the Martha's Vineyard Health Education Collaborative to engage our state's higher education system with residents' education and employment needs. Throughout your outstanding contributions in the field of nursing and your exceptional commitment to civic engagement, you personally exemplify the Boston State College Education for Service motto and serve as an exemplar of the college's legacy. In recognition of your distinguished service and leadership, I'm very proud, on behalf of the University of Massachusetts, Boston, to present you with the Boston State College Education for Service Award. Lorna, please come up.
Good evening, everybody. I actually did write a little something, but I'm not going to, it's too long, so I'm just going to speak from the head here and say I'm honored. I thank God for this day and for each one of you. I am so, so honored to have my classmates here with me who I looked up and they walked in and I didn't even expect them to be here. I'm also very, very happy to have one of my Martha's Vineyard family members, extended family members, Marie Doubleday, who's a graduate of UMass, and my sister-in-law is here. My brother couldn't make it. He's terminally ill. He was too weak. He was trying to get here tonight, but he's just too weak, and I wanted to share that with you all. I do want to say, when you're on the vineyard, look me up. I'm in the telephone book. Everybody else does. And everybody thinks that I have a lot of children because at Christmas and on my birthday, I get no less than 300 to 500 cards from graduate students and so on, all my different acquaintances throughout the years. So I'm very, very blessed. Again, I want to thank each one of you, my Boston State family, my University of Mass family, and to all the friends and family members of those recipients here tonight of the award. Thank you so much. God bless.
By the heartiness of those applause, I think you're going to have a lot of visitors during the summer months. And now, to a proud Boston State College alumnus, Paul Lorino, an exemplary educator, an instructional innovator, a visionary leader, an agent of change. These are all words that a former colleague of yours and former students used to describe the exceptional talent and passion which you brought to your career as an English teacher, as a department head, and a housemaster at Brockton High School. With your high expectations and engaging manner of instruction, you inspired literally thousands of students to be engrossed in writing and in critical thinking. Your genuine interest in their development got them to see the best version of themselves, which is really a talent, and helped many turn their lives around. As co-chair of the Brockton High School Restructuring Committee, you led the curriculum redesign, which ultimately led to nationally recognized improvement in state test scores at the largest public high school in Massachusetts. Driven by your commitment to majority, minority, low-income student populations, you helped stem minority achievement gaps in one of the largest public schools in our nation. In retirement, you've continued your commitment to the profession at Fitchburg State. That's what it says here, but it's actually now, as we all know, Fitchburg State University. There you've helped prepare a new generation of teachers, which is really extraordinary. With your practical approach, you share strategies for model lessons in classroom management. I actually teach as well. I could probably take a few pointers from you. From your outstanding career, as well as your early struggles as an educator. Through your outstanding contributions in the field of public education, you personify Boston State College's educational for service model and serve as an exemplar of the college's legacy. In recognition of distinguished service and leadership, I'm very proud, on behalf of the University of Massachusetts at Boston, to present you with the Boston State College Education for Service Award. Would you please step forward?
Well, I did write a speech, and you're going to hear it. So I'm taking my time and some of Lorna's, all right? And spend 3 weeks on this for nothing.
Well, the block closes at 1.
Yeah, no, it's staying open. I was born on a cool October day, and I was raised in a gated community of 3 deckers in Dorchester. Yeah, that's all right, there we go. Actually, I'm only teasing, but frankly, I would like in my speech, there were no gated communities, and anyway, we would have broken into them. That was before college. But I'd like to, in my speech, to tap into the mood of the election time before us. And I believe that my classroom experiences over the decades could actually be used to address some of the social and political issues that now confront the country. And I would like you to see this as, see Donald Trump as my model for whatever he speaks on an issue, we get to hear the mind under the hair. So in this speech, I would like for you to get to hear the mind behind the nominee. By the way, speaking of Donald Trump, I can't tell you how deeply moved I was to see the thousands of people from New Jersey who were out there congratulating me and celebrating my receiving the award. I have to tell you honestly, I couldn't believe what I saw. First, as a classroom teacher, I think we should look at 2 traditional questions that have always been asked by countless teachers to countless students over the decades. I was asked it many times when I was a student, and as a teacher, I said it thousands of times. And that question is asked, as I say, in schools every day throughout America. And that question is this: what are you doing in the corridor without a pass? And I believe that that question can be helpful in dealing with migration from Mexico to the United States, where the question would be reshaped, what are you doing at the border without a pass? Or if Trump is elected, what are you doing climbing the wall without a pass? Another question that has a tradition in schools, and that I have said many times as a teacher and was asked by teachers. Does a carpenter go to work without his tools? Now, I went to BC High, where that reference to a carpenter had special significance. Again, I think this question can be applied to the issues of outsourcing of jobs, the disappearance of the middle class, and corporations going overseas. So I think the question should be revised to, does the person who has your job in India go to work without his tools? Now, climate change is another issue, and I'm interested in its impact on education. So I think more research needs to be done, so the teachers will know if climate change is going to increase school cancellations. And if it does, I think personally that it's the moral obligation of the media to announce those cancellations before teachers go to bed and not after they've showered and dressed for work. Thank you. I thought that would touch a nerve, yeah. I would also suggest with climate change that the legislature change the present attendance mandate of 180 days to read simply, teachers and students are to attend as often as possible. Now to the final topic of guns and gun violence, which is a very serious topic in America. But unfortunately, some of our politicians have come up with a very ludicrous solution, which is to have teachers armed in the classroom, and I think that's a pretty ugly idea. But I was also thinking, picture this. So you're in a classroom. I'm sitting there grading papers. A student comes up. Yes, Billy. Mr. Lorino, can I borrow a pen? Sure, here you go. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Billy. Are you okay? Oh, yeah, Mr. Lorino, it's only a flesh wound. So teachers with guns is, in my opinion, an idiotic idea, because frankly, in all my experiences, and I've taught in Boston, I've taught in Brockton, teachers do not fear their students or the people in their community. In fact, between you and me, if I had any fear while I was teaching, and it was one that haunted me every year, it was that I would teach my classes all year and die on the first day of summer. Thank you. I knew I was talking to teachers tonight. I knew it. Well, allow me to shift from a playful tone to a more sincere one. Samuel Johnson once said, everyone wishes to be viewed as considerable in their native land, and I am no exception. So I thank Boston State for giving me a fine education to a working class kid whose family could handle the tuition. And I would also like to mention, since I'm a teacher, and a special recognition to Ralph Ladd, who was a history teacher at school. And finally, special thanks to the Boston State Steering Committee for nominating me for this award. I thank them for their generosity and for the opportunity to receive this award in front of my friends, Henry and Tish Allen, Dorothy O'Callahan, my son Paul, my daughter-in-law Carol, my daughter Beth, and my beautiful wife Edna. For all that, I am deeply grateful and fully humble. Thank you.
So we have one person who's an orator, one person who's a comedian, and then you're stuck with me. So it's now my pleasure to introduce, last but not least, from the class of 1972, Catherine Stecky, a proud Boston State College alumna. In a very distinguished career as an operations management scholar, you have earned prestigious international recognition from your peers, accolades for your teaching and mentoring, and a reputation for applying considerable leadership talent to bring out the very best in others. Again, I could get a couple of pointers after this is over. Today, you hold the prestigious position as the Ashbel Smith Professor of Operations Management at the University of Texas at Dallas. There, and during your previous 21 years at the University of Michigan Business School, you have focused on excellence in teaching, research, and service in your chosen academic field. Well known for your collegiality and collaboration, and for your advocacy for education, you have made substantial contributions to support your students in their academic careers, numerous professional associations, and also contributions to companies where you consult. Your incredible intellect, energy, and generosity of spirit, isn't that nice for someone to say that about you? Your incredible intellect, energy, and generosity of spirit makes you equally at home in the classroom as well as in front of global industry conference audiences that you have organized and for whom you have presented. Of the many awards you have received, two in particular highlight your impact as an educator and accomplished academic. One is the Outstanding Graduate Teaching Award from the Naveen Jindal School of Management, and your 2009 selection as a Fellow of the Institute for Operations Research and Management Sciences, one of only 11 out of 10,000 members. In awarding this honor, you were cited for both your contributions to research on flexible manufacturing and supply chains, and for creating opportunities for others in your field to disseminate research in conferences and journals. Clearly, I would say clearly, your outstanding contributions in the fields of operation management scholarship and public higher education personifies Boston State College's Education for Service motto, and you serve as an exemplar of the college's legacy. In recognition of your distinguished service and leadership, I am very proud on behalf of the University of Massachusetts at Boston to present you with the Boston State College Education for Service Award. Please step forward.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your words. I'm wondering who you were talking about. And I'd like to thank the selection committee. I'm very honored. This is, very amazing. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much. So, when we think about college, one of the things that comes up a lot are the people. Our classmates, our former professors, we talk about them all the time. So some of my former classmates are here, actually. Paris Draganos, Brenda Keene were in my math classes with me. We'll get to math professors in a little while. But you can't be in the class of 1972 without, Paul was, rather a little bit political here, without talking about Vietnam. So let's talk about old politics for a while. So Vietnam was happening at the time. And yes, we did take over the president's office. We gave it back. We all sat there for a little while and we gave it back to him. And Boston State had two extremes, but they were mild extremes. If we had conservatives, they weren't Tea Party, they weren't very conservative. If we had, sort of left, it wasn't super radical, now it would be called kind of liberal. And Danny Ray, for example, got this award, I think, a couple of years ago. Yeah, and he was president of YAF when I was there. Faculty advisor was Ronald Kowalski in government, who I had several classes from. Ronald Kowalski's wife is here. Ronald Kowalski's son, Eddie, is here. So some of you might remember Ron when he was a professor at Boston State for N years. And at the other side, if you remember, there was SDS, and Jay Sargent was the president at the time. And also at the time, one of my professors, Henry Allen, sitting in this room, he also was one of our best professors that we always knew and loved. And when Henry, actually, it was probably 71, summer of 71, while we were all gone, Henry was kind of unceremoniously fired. It was rather a political thing at the time that, it doesn't usually happen that much anymore, but it did then. And it wasn't because of his teaching, because what we remembered as students, what came out of his mouth, we were amazed. We'd never heard anyone speak like that before. He had a way of making history and, way of open your mind and thinking. He was an excellent professor. So it was rather political, and like I said, not radical, just liberal, and things like that don't quite happen anymore. I remember that there was a Save Henry Allen banner that was dropped from the side of Boston State College back then. Okay, so he's here also. And so, now, to get on a bit of a lighter note, when a lot of us students get together, we talk about our old math professors. Oh, and actually math, I majored in math because we're always wondering where Raul Freire was. First term, I had Raul Freire from Cuba. We'd never heard such an accent before. A couple of the students dropped. Turns out he's why I majored in math. He made things so simple, so easy. A class with him, just describing the concept of epsilon, infinitesimal, very small. He told everyone, put down your pencils and just listen. I did, never picked up a pencil after that. I never took notes in any class I took in Boston State grad school, just never took notes. I stopped and listened. People write furiously, recopied their notes, I listened. I actually learned that from Raul Freire. But when I first started at Boston State, I had no idea what I wanted to major in. I loved history, I loved English, I had George Thornton, any subject, but Raul sort of probably got me into math. And so then we wondered where our math professors are, Gunther, Dick Truesdell, Mike Greeley, Jack Nee. We kind of remember all of them and talk about them once in a while. So I think I'll stop there. Bye.
You certainly can say that in this diverse group of awardees, there was something for everyone, right? Aren't they just fantastic? Let's give them another round of applause. So before Keith left, he told me that they have this book, UMass Boston at 50, and he said, I'm not going to be here to give it out, so you can determine the criteria by which someone gets this book this evening. So I was speaking with Terry, and I should say Dr. Mortimer, but and we decided that the best way would be to give it to the person in the earliest graduating class in the audience this evening. Not necessarily chronologically the oldest, but the earliest graduating class so that we don't have to dime anybody out. So do we have anybody, how many people are before 1970? Oh. How many people are before 1930? No, I'm only kidding. How many people are before 1950? Oh. How many people are before 1960? Jerry Burke, class of 1959.
I have received the copy, so I'm going to give this back.
Okay, so how about anybody before 1965? Oh, wait a second. Okay, Jim Murphy, what year? 65. Okay, so now we're gonna have to go by grade point average.
Maybe what was January and maybe what was
the
June.
transcript.
Maybe what was January and maybe what was June.
Thank you, you're welcome. Okay, so. Very good. Jim, that was very nice of you to do that. So thank you to each of you and all of you together. Oh, by the way, I have to give a shout out. Hello, over there. I have to give a shout out to the Quincy College people. You make some noise over there? I hate that word shout out, but I have to say. And thank you to each and every one of you for joining us for this year's celebration. We certainly hope, and many people are regulars, that we see you back next year. Thank you, Dr. Mortimer, for helping me with this. Our formal program is ended. The bar is open, and stay for a while and mingle with your friends. Thank you.